Cleveland just got humiliated 3-1-3, a loss so bad it forced the head coach on camera to openly admit there was a communication breakdown that crippled the offense. This isn't normal football talk. This is dysfunction exposed in front of the world.
Was there something wrong with the Sanders wristband?
Yeah, there was a miscommunication early.
I think they mentioned that you guys had the wrong plays in the wristband on the first 2 drives. Is that accurate?
No. Yeah. There was something, I don't know if the wristband got something on it or whatever it was, but there was we got that fixed pretty quickly.
This wasn't just a loss. This was a statement, and that statement came from the head coach himself after a 31-3 defeat to the Chicago Bears that saw Cleveland's offense fall apart. Head coach Kevin Stefanski didn't hide the truth. In the post-game press conference, he used the word miscommunication when asked about a wristband error involving ShedeurSanders, a mistake that sent the offense into chaos early and set the tone for the entire afternoon. This wasn't just a simple sideline slip. It was a symptom of deeper operational issues. On the Browns' first drive, the wrong wristband forced Sanders to sprint to the sideline for clarification, a delay that led directly to a penalty and stalled momentum. And when the broadcast fixed the issue, it wasn't brushed off quietly. It became the central question for the rest of the press session. Stefanski's choice to admit there was a communication problem and not deflect or downplay it instantly changed the narrative of this loss from bad day to structural problem. Sports later in that same conference, Stefanski tried to put a positive spin on the situation, framing it as minor and fixable, but the damage was already done. He used familiar coaching language about adjustments and execution that fans have heard before, but this time the contrast was stark because he had already acknowledged the breakdown on camera. This wasn't typical coach speak. This was a rare moment of transparency, and it raises real questions about leadership, preparation, and where this Browns season is even headed.
Getting them 2 scores early and then 3 in the third, did it drastically change what they were able to do on defense, or kind of limited you guys on offense?
I would give them credit. Obviously, that they did a great job, but we have to execute better in some areas.
You talk about the ups and downs, and obviously that's the best takeaway defense in the NFL. Do you talk to Sanders about just 364 yards last week, turnovers this week, that up and down?
Particularly to their takeaways, you're saying?
Yeah, just the ups and downs, like you said.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, sure. You talk to your quarterback a lot about the opponent you're facing, what they're good at, things that they're going to try to take away. But at the end of the day, you just have to focus on your development in each one of these games, and he's fighting like crazy to try to help us win. Obviously, we came up short. All of us, we came up short. So you learn from it and you apply those lessons in the future.
This is where the Browns' explanation starts to fall apart.
To them, but we have to learn from these, and as players, we got to learn from some of these moments, and we will.
You wouldn't see what happened after that moment. Cleveland's offense didn't settle down. It didn't adjust. It didn't simplify. Data collapsed. Routes weren't timed. Receivers were stopping short of landmarks. The quarterback looked unsure, not because of pressure, but because the structure around him wasn't reliable. That's the part fans immediately recognized. Kevin Stefanski later talked about communication and getting everyone on the same page. But here's the problem with that explanation. NFL teams rehearse wristband operations every single week. This isn't a trick concept. This is football 101 at the professional level. So, when that system fails, especially in a game where the Browns were already overmatched, it exposes something deeper. It exposes preparation. And it raises an uncomfortable question Browns fans are starting to whisper instead of shout. If the offense can't function cleanly in a basic setup, what happens when the game plan actually needs flexibility? Because Chicago didn't disguise exotic looks. They didn't confuse Cleveland with complexity. They simply stayed disciplined and watched the Browns beat themselves. That's why this loss hit differently, not because of the score. Not because of the interceptions, but because it showed how fragile the offensive foundation really is when even a small breakdown causes everything to unravel. And that brings us to the next issue, the one the Browns haven't fully addressed yet. Here's where the conversation stops being about one game and starts being about leadership. Because quarterbacks don't run the Browns' offense. Kevin Stefanski does. Every system decision, every communication structure, every contingency plan when things go wrong, that all traces back to the head coach. After the loss, Stefanski used familiar language: execution, alignment, accountability. Browns fans have heard those words before, after blowouts, after stalled drives, after seasons that quietly slipped away. The issue isn't that he said the wrong thing. It's that he said the same thing again, and repetition is what's causing doubt. When miscommunication shows up once, it's a mistake. When it shows up repeatedly, different games, different moments, it becomes a pattern. That's why fans aren't just reacting emotionally anymore. They're connecting dots. The Browns have talent. The defense continues to fight. Yet the offense keeps hitting invisible walls. Not because opponents are unbeatable, but because Cleveland seems unprepared for its own situations. This is the danger zone for a head coach, not outrage. Not chaos. But quiet skepticism. Because once fans stop believing explanations, every press conference feels like damage control. Every correction sounds temporary. And every "we'll clean it up" raises the same question. Why hasn't it been cleaned up already? And that leads directly to the most uncomfortable part of all, what this means going forward. This is the point where teams either correct course or quietly drift. Because once doubt enters the building, it doesn't announce itself. It shows hesitation, in second guessing, in players looking to the sideline one extra second longer than they should. That's the risk Cleveland is facing right now. When an offense loses trust in its structure, players stop playing fast. And when they stop playing fast, even simple defenses look dominant. That's exactly what we saw unfold, not because Chicago was unbeatable, but because Cleveland never looked settled. And here's the part the Browns can't ignore. The schedule doesn't get easier. The margin for error gets smaller. And explanations stop mattering once losses stack. Kevin Stefanski doesn't need a miracle. He needs clarity, clear communication, clear adjustments, clear accountability that shows up on the field, not just at the podium, because fans aren't asking for perfection. They're asking for control. Control of the offense, control of the game plan, control of moments that should never spiral the way they did. If that control shows up in the next stretch of games, this loss becomes a lesson. If it doesn't, it becomes a warning sign everyone will point back to. And that's why this moment matters more than the box score. Because seasons don't usually collapse all at once. They crack quietly, right after games like this. If you still believe this was just one bad game, explain it in the comments. If you think this exposed something deeper about the Browns' direction, say it out loud. Don't hide behind the score. Don't blame one player. Because what happened here starts at the top. And Cleveland fans deserve honest answers. Subscribe if you're done with excuses. Comment if you think this season just reached a turning point.